The Galactic Compact had a word for humans. Decorative. It meant useful in minor ways: entertainers, traders, mediators, soft-bodied mammals good at making speeches and terrible at making threats. Humanity had arrived late to the stars, blinking and polite, carrying treaties instead of fleets. They spoke of cooperation. They laughed too loudly at alien jokes. They signed every agreement put in front of them. The mistake wasn't underestimating human strength. The mistake was misunderstanding human restraint. The day the war began, no human ship fired a shot. Instead, every relay node across compact space lit up with the same transmission. No encryption. No threats. Just a single human standing in a dark room, sleeves rolled up, eyes tired in a way only old soldiers recognized. "My name is Elias Ward," he said calmly. "Former logistics officer. Retired. Father of 2. Widower." A pause. Just long enough to feel uncomfortable. "You sterilized Earth." Across 1,000 worlds, alien viewers shifted. The Compact's High Command had classified the operation as Population Neutralization Event 7B. A surgical strike. Viral seeding. Clean. Efficient. No messy orbital bombardments. No broken planets. Earth had died quietly. Ward continued, voice steady. "You told us it was a mistake. You sent condolences. You sent aid packages we no longer had hands to open." His jaw tightened. "We accepted your apology." Another pause. This one colder. "That was your second mistake." The screen went black. Then the stars began to scream. Compact sensors lit up with anomalies, old, forgotten ones. Dead systems flared back to life. Mining outposts long stripped bare began broadcasting again. Human accents. Human codes. Human laughter crackling through static. The Compact panicked. Humans didn't have that kind of reach. Their navy ranked 27th. Their industry was mediocre. Their colonies sparse. What no one had tracked was where humanity went when they stopped expanding. They went underground. They hollowed asteroids and buried shipyards inside gas giants. They built fleets without flags, crews without records, and doctrines without mercy. They sold mercenary contracts for centuries, not to earn credits, but to learn how every species fought, retreated, surrendered. Humanity didn't build an empire. They built a ledger. The first compact world to burn was Tarsus Prime, a bureaucratic jewel. No defenses worth mentioning. No reason to expect violence. Human ships arrived without warning, black-hulled, ugly things, bristling with mismatched weaponry. They didn't hail. They didn't threaten. They dropped pods. Not bombs. People. Veterans. Colonial militias. Men and women old enough to remember Earth's oceans. They landed in city centers, government halls, media districts. And they started shooting. The footage went viral before the Compact could censor it. A human sergeant, blood on his face, shouting into a camera ripped from a wall. "You don't get to say sorry," he growled. "You don't get to move on." Behind him, the skyline burned. "This is us moving on." The Galactic Compact had protocols for disaster. They had thick manuals, redundant chains of command, emergency assemblies carved into law long before humanity discovered fire. Entire civilizations had risen and fallen under those procedures. None of them prepared the Compact for humans who were done asking permission. Within hours of the Tarsus incursion, the emergency beacons lit across 47 member worlds. Fleets were recalled. Borders sealed. Media suppressed. The council chamber filled with shouting, pheromones, color shifts, and ritualized displays of dominance that had once passed for unity. Admiral Kaith of the Vraxian clans slammed his Talon limb into the floor hard enough to crack stone. "This is a violation of every war statute we have," he roared. "They are targeting civilian infrastructure. Political centers. This is barbarism." From the shadowed upper tier, a calm voice replied. "Yes." The chamber stilled. Ambassador Yell of the Alithians stepped forward, his long neck arching slightly in a gesture that humans once described as almost sad. His species had been among the few to vote against Earth's sterilization. Their protest had been noted and ignored. "They are violating every statute," Yell continued, "because they no longer recognize your authority to right them." Kaith bared his fangs. "You always defended them. Told us they were harmless." "I told you they were patient," Yell corrected. "There is a difference." As if summoned by the admission, the chamber's central holoprojector flickered to life without authorization. Compact security codes, supposedly unbreakable, folded like paper. A new feed replaced the Council's emergency interface. Shaky. Handheld. Recorded in the middle of chaos. A human woman leaned against the scorched bulkhead, reloading a rifle with practiced efficiency. Her hair was streaked with gray, her knuckles raw and bloody. She grinned at the camera like someone enjoying a private joke. "Hi," she said cheerfully. "Captain Maria Alvarez." Retired. An explosion rocked the corridor behind her. She didn't flinch. "I used to run a diner in New Mexico," she went on. "Best pancakes you'd ever have. Burned the first batch every morning. My husband said it was tradition." Her smile didn't fade, but something colder moved behind it. "You killed him while he was asleep." The camera shifted, showing the corridor beyond. Compact officers, ranking ones, knelt on the deck, bound, terrified. Their ceremonial armor was dented and smeared with blood. "We're trying something new," Alvarez said, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "We're giving you a choice." She knelt so the camera caught her at eye level. "You call your fleets home. You open your archives. You surrender the people who ordered Earth's sterilization." She racked the rifle. "Or you don't." The council chamber erupted in shouting. The feed cut just as Alvarez stood and turned back toward the prisoners. What followed was worse. Compact fleets launched in force, dozens of armadas, millions of tons of war steel, doctrines refined over millennia. They advanced toward human-held systems with overwhelming firepower. They never reached them. Supply hubs detonated before fleets could refuel. Navigation arrays misaligned by fractions of a degree sent ships drifting into gravity wells. AI command systems froze, then rebooted with unfamiliar subroutines running quietly beneath official code. Humanity didn't meet the armadas in glorious battles. They unraveled them. In the Carson Reach, an entire Vraxian battle group went dark when its life support algorithms were subtly altered. Oxygen levels dropped slowly, just enough to induce panic before suffocation. On Pelvoth, a compact shipyard woke to find its orbital tethers severed simultaneously, dropping half-built dreadnoughts into atmosphere like fallen gods. Everywhere, the same pattern emerged. Humans struck only worlds that had voted for Earth's destruction. Worlds that abstained were warned. Worlds that opposed it were quietly reinforced, human engineers repairing defenses, human pilots escorting refugee convoys. The galaxy began to understand. This wasn't conquest. It was accountability. A captured human lieutenant was brought before a compact intelligence tribunal on your station. He was young, maybe 30, wearing patched armor and a faded Earth patch on his shoulder. "Why?" the interrogator demanded. "Why not destroy us all?" The lieutenant considered the question, then shrugged. "Earth taught us something," he said. "You don't punish the innocent for the crimes of their rulers." The interrogator hesitated. "Then why this level of brutality?" The lieutenant's eyes hardened. "Because you made extinction procedural." The tribunal ended the session early. Then came the moment that broke the compact's spine. One by one, high-ranking officials began to disappear. Not assassinated. Extracted. Snatched from fortified worlds by human teams using access tunnels and transport nodes no one remembered building. Each disappearance was followed by a data drop, uncensored archives flooding public networks. Voting records. Internal memos. Casual language discussing acceptable losses and species management. Civil unrest exploded across compact space. Worlds seceded. Militaries mutinied. Entire species demanded trials. And then, Without warning, human attacks stopped. No raids. No sabotage. No executions. A single transmission replaced the chaos. Elias Ward appeared again. Older. His hair fully gray now. The darkness behind him was gone, replaced by soft light. "We're done," he said simply. Gasps rippled through 1,000 chambers. "Your fleets are broken. Your secrets exposed. Your leaders removed." He leaned forward, eyes sharp. "You think this is mercy?" The camera pulled back. Behind him stood children. Human children. Some laughed quietly. Some stared at the camera with solemn curiosity. All of them wore simple clothes. None of them looked afraid. "We didn't fight this war for revenge," Ward said softly. "We fought it for continuity." The feed ended. Across the galaxy, fear deepened, not faded. Because for the first time, the Compact realized something far worse than human anger. Humanity had planned for what came after. The galaxy did not know how to exist without human violence. For 3 cycles after the broadcasts ended, Compact space held its breath. Fleets remained on alert. Economies froze. Borders stayed sealed. Every sensor anomaly triggered panic, every data spike whispered their back. They never came. Instead, human ships arrived openly. Trade vessels. Medical barges. Engineering haulers patched together from old hulls and stubborn optimism. They docked with stations that had once screamed under assault, their crews waving clearance codes that were, infuriatingly, still valid. Human diplomats returned too. Older now. Grayer. Less patient. They didn't demand apologies. They didn't negotiate territory. They asked questions. Who had ordered the vote? Who had profited? Who had known and stayed silent? And when answers were given, humans nodded, wrote things down, and moved on. The Compact tried to reassert authority. Emergency councils issued declarations, sanctions, moral condemnations. Humans smiled politely and ignored them. They had learned painfully that centralized power was a liability. So they went decentralized. Humans settled everywhere. Not in vast numbers, not invasions, not migrations. Just enough. A few families on a station. A repair crew on a moon. A bar on a trade route that served alcohol too strong and food too spicy. A human engineer fixed a water recycler no one else could. A human teacher stayed late with children who struggled to learn standard. A human mercenary retired into quiet security work and never quite stopped watching exits. They became necessary. And then they became related. A Vraxian warlord awoke to find his eldest daughter engaged to a human mechanic who smelled of engine grease and refused to bow. And a Lithian senator discovered her chief of staff had been human-born, and had quietly rewritten 3 trade policies to prevent famine. A Compact admiral learned, too late, that his fleet's predictive AI had been maintained for decades by a human subcontractor who had left behind modifications. Dark humor spread faster than fear. "If you see a human smiling," went one joke, "check your balance sheet." Another, "They don't invade your world. They move next door." But beneath the laughter was something colder. Humanity was no longer a faction. It was a factor. Former soldiers drifted into civilian life like ghosts learning to breathe again. Some found peace. Others found purpose. Captain Maria Alvarez married an alien trauma surgeon whose hospital she had once used as a command post. Their arguments were legendary. Their clinic saved thousands. A human sniper adopted a brood of refugees after their parents died in crossfire. He never spoke much. He never missed a school play. Across compact space, human children were born under alien skies. They learned multiple languages before adolescence. They grew up hearing stories of Earth not as a paradise, but as a lesson. Never put everything in one place. Which was why the revelation hurt so much. A century after the war began, when most of the Compact believed humanity had finally softened, Elias Ward appeared one last time. He looked ancient now. Smaller. But his eyes were sharp as ever. "We never wanted your space," he said gently. We never wanted your resources, your worlds, or your loyalty. The feed shifted. Images flooded the network, Earth's final days. Not the sanitized reports. Not statistics. Homes. Schools. Hospitals. Children coughing themselves to sleep. Oceans choked with algae. Forests collapsing into silence. Billions dying without ever knowing why. You erased our home, Ward said quietly. So we erased a lie. The image changed again. Human shipyards, vast ones, hidden beyond the galactic rim. Artificial stars igniting. Habitats layered like armor around newborn worlds. Fleets unlike anything the Compact had ever imagined, sleek, unified, terrifyingly purpose-built. We erased the lie that you were untouchable, Ward continued. And the lie that we needed you. His gaze hardened. And now we are leaving. Shock rippled through every world. Human embassies closed within days. Trade agreements dissolved. Human settlements packed up with eerie efficiency. Families said tearful goodbyes to friends, spouses, children who chose to stay. Some humans stayed too. Not enough to lead. Just enough to remember. The Compact celebrated the withdrawal. They called it victory. They were wrong. Because when humanity left, they took something with them. Stability. Without human mediation, old rivalries resurfaced. Trade routes collapsed without human logistics expertise. Security pacts failed without human enforcers who had never cared about prestige, only results. Former allies turned on each other. Border wars flared. The galaxy began to eat itself. And far beyond map space, under artificial suns, humanity watched in silence. Not with hatred. With distance. Preparing. Because the war had never been about revenge. It had been about never needing forgiveness again. The Compact believed the galaxy was safe once humans left. They were wrong. Far beyond the mapped rim, hidden beyond sensors and charts, new human worlds were coming online. Artificial stars flared to life, their radiation carefully tuned. Mobile planets drifted along silent trajectories, their surfaces bristling with defenses no alien engineer could reverse engineer. Habitats layered like armor, every module redundant, every system tested for centuries. These worlds were not colonies. They were fortresses. They were lessons. Compact fleets, still struggling to rebuild, detected anomalies too late. Signals pulsed with precision, not desperation. Fleet logistics began to fail, not because humans attacked, but because the galaxy itself had been restructured by them. Trade routes collapsed, diplomatic channels were hollowed out, old enemies exploited the new vacuum. Everywhere, the Compact realized the truth: humanity had not fought for territory. They had fought for time. And now they had spent it wisely. A single, encrypted message arrived at the remnants of the High Council. Not broadcast, not recorded, sent only to the highest surviving leaders. You thought this war was about revenge, Elias Ward said. His voice was calm, the calm of someone who had already endured more than any species could imagine. The feed showed no ships. No weapons. Just children playing in zero-gravity chambers. Young humans laughing, building, learning. And among them, a handful of elders, gray and lined, supervising silently. It was never about conquest, Ward continued. It was about independence. About survival. About proving to ourselves, and to you, that we cannot be controlled, ignored, or erased again. Compact leaders stared, their eyes wide. Some of them vomited in fear, others laughed bitterly, realizing too late that their entire civilization had been reshaped by a species they had thought was decorative. Ward smiled faintly. And now, he said, voice softening, we leave. The feed ended. Human fleets vanished beyond the edge of the galaxy, leaving behind no territory, no colonies, no overt influence, yet the Compact worlds were forever altered. Trade networks remained broken, political alliances fractured, old vendettas reignited. Every species learned painfully what it meant to underestimate humans. And somewhere, beyond the light of any known star, humanity thrived. They did not expand to conquer. They did not impose order. They built, they prepared, they survived. Children played under artificial suns, learning stories of Earth not with tears but with pride. They learned the history of survival, cunning, and patience. And across the galaxy, whenever a ruler considered erasing a weaker world, someone whispered a warning. Don't. They remember. And the galaxy at last listened. Because the humans had declared war, not for revenge, not for conquest, not for glory. They had declared war for something older, deeper, and infinitely more terrifying, the right to exist on their own terms. The Compact would never forget it. And humanity moved on, quietly, inexorably, beyond the stars, leaving behind a galaxy that would forever know the cost of underestimating what it meant to be human.